Hello, and welcome to this episode of Cali and Craig Talk. I'm Callie.
And I'm Craig.
Oh, it's a
Yeah,
Saturday today.
yes. And I think the last episode was when I had my sore throat.
You
So I
did.
sound normal now. Yes.
Yes, you sound normal now,
Yes.
100%. Which was so funny because when I edited that episode, like you'd been, like I'd grown accustomed to the way your sick voice sounded because you were sick for so long. And then when
hmm
I was editing it, remember I sent you a text and I'm like, oh my God, your voice sounds so deep. Like,
hmm
but I didn't realize it. It's funny, right?
I'm I'm at my most masculine when I'm sniveling and shivering and under a blanket.
It's just funny that I got used to it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like I didn't even realize it. And then when your voice came back to normal, it was like my brain didn't even register that there was a change until I put the
hmm
thing on. I was like, "Oh, that was what you sounded like for the past 3 weeks." This is wild.
Yeah. hmm
Um, so we are full of regret for listeners at home because we wanted to make a cake today, but both of
Yeah.
us were too lazy to go to the store this morning.
Yeah. And then of course we're not going to go to the store in the middle of Saturday afternoon. Like I
No.
value my life and my dignity.
hmm
Oh.
Because my store will be crazy in the afternoon,
hmm
100%. Like it's crazy all the time. I feel like the time, so I know you go at a certain time in the morning and I have to go. So I think it's the same for both of us. The only time our stores aren't busy is super, super early in the morning.
Yes. Yeah.
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 That's the same here. Unless it's snowbird season. When it's snowbird season, there's no good time. Even early in the
Oh,
morning is
okay,
busy.
yeah. I guess snowbird season for us is the opposite because they're all
Yeah.
leaving my area
Yeah.
and going to where you are.
Yeah. So in the winter,
Mhm.
right? So, but
Yeah.
is traffic, do you find a difference in traffic and stuff in the
It's
winter?
really hard to compare because winter traffic is awful just because it's
Yeah.
winter and you're all
Yeah.
driving slow and some streets suddenly have two lanes instead of three because no one knows where the lanes are. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and today and here, no one
hmm
knows where the lanes are normally. So it doesn't matter
Okay.
what time of the year it is. No one just knows how to drive at all ever. But
Okay.
I think our highways are bigger than yours though, because like in town, we have like there's one of the major roads that we drive on that's not an interstate. That's 3 lanes both ways.
Yeah, so we have a few, very few stretches that are three lanes both ways. Most streets are two lanes both ways
Mm-hmm.
if they're a big street.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's a few that are three, but most are two.
Yeah.
And then a lot of streets are just one lane.
Yeah. Do
Even
you guys have
busy
a
one
do you
lane
have a
streets.
drop off the side of your streets or does it stay smooth? Like on the road? Like when you're driving, does it drop off the side? Like you would your car, if you had to
You mean
pull off.
like a pull-off lane or
No, so
something?
like if you're driving, is the
Yeah.
road higher up than the ground outside? Like so if
Oh,
you had to pull
no.
off, would your tire like slip
No,
down?
if you had to pull off, you just run into the curb, and then
Uh
crash.
Well,
Well, I
not
mean,
every, there's
there's a
has to be
couple
some, right?
streets
That have no
like
curbs, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a couple with no curbs. Like there's a
hmm
big street called Abenoji Mikana
Yeah.
that I think has no curbs, or at least in big
hmm
stretches of it, no curbs.
hmm
But that's because there's just sort of like grassland on either
Yeah.
side of the road because
Yeah.
it hasn't been fully developed, and I hope it
hmm
doesn't because we need some green spaces to stay. But yeah.
That's true. Yeah, interesting. Well, I love it here because it's that way, it's flat, like straight across. But when we lived in Tennessee, there was just like this crazy drop off the side of the roads. So you
Yes.
couldn't really just like pull off because it was like, a
Yeah,
couple
like I
feet
mean,
down.
we have that with some of our like smaller highways outside the
Yeah.
city, but within the city, no, you'd be running
Yeah.
into the curb and crashing.
That sounds not fun. Okay,
Mhm.
so we are going to talk about writing today,
We are,
mostly, kind of, I
because we're
think.
kind of a book slash writer podcast, sort of,
We're
even though
kind
we
of
mostly
like
bake.
we're kind of like writers and authors and book publishers and
We
like
pretend to be anyway.
editors and I don't even know what else I don't know.
Social
But
media influencers for books.
I don't think so. Okay. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about POV because that seems to
We
keep coming
are.
up for you and me,
Yeah.
since we have so many projects that we're working on. And I have dipped into You Can Call Me Cooper 2, which has a different title. But
Hmm.
that one is my first step back into third person. So today, I know there's a bunch of different POVs and I can't list them all.
Hmm.
So we'll just do three. So we'll do first person, third person, and omniscient. How about that?
Yes. Sounds good to me. I hope I
Yeah.
remember everything.
Well, we'll see. I don't know. I
Mhm.
don't know it. I don't know much. So
Hmm.
if you forget,
Figure it
I
out.
won't be able
We'll
to
figure it out.
correct you.
So in education, you just have to be two steps ahead of your students. So we just
Mhm.
have to be two steps ahead of the listeners.
Well, the good news is a lot of my readers said they really didn't even know the difference in POVs.
Okay.
They don't really take too much notice of them. Um, but anyway, so first person, I have trouble with this, but what I did was I did a survey for the question of the day last week was which viewpoint do you prefer to read for readers? And overwhelmingly, it was first person.
Hmm.
And first person is where you tell the story through the character's eyes. It's like you're living through the story. You're in their shoes the whole time.
Yeah. So it's
So
like I did
yeah,
this, I did that, I
yeah.
sucked that cock, I topped that butt. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, right there.
Explicit podcast. Yes.
It is an explicit podcast.
We
Yes.
write the smutty stuff. So I mean, we're
We
going to give
do.
the
That's absolutely true. That
examples
was, you
that
know
the
what?
listeners want.
I'm sorry that my mouth fell open when you said that. You're absolutely right. It's absolutely true. But so that would be an example of first person. And then the same scene, like what you just said, give it to me in third person.
He did this, he did that, he sucked that cock, and he topped that butt.
Right. Now in omniscient,
That's where I don't know if I can come up with a
I
real
could
quick answer. Okay,
I could
yeah.
do it, but I can't. I can't, okay, I can, but I shouldn't because there are children in the house.
All
So I
right.
shouldn't use the example that you use.
So in third person omniscient, so in normal third person, you're through a character's eyes, you only hear their thoughts and the
Hmm.
world as they see it, even though you're saying like he did this, he did that. And omniscient, you get to float around to other people's thoughts,
Hmm.
in a way that's commonly thought of as head hopping, but it's usually done with intention and clear rules. And I'm
Yeah,
sure there's like more to it that I don't
right.
understand because I've never written omniscient. So it might be
Yeah,
like he sucked that cock, and the other guy's like, he's really good with his mouth as his internal
right,
thought. And then the
right,
first guy's like, this really fits well in my mouth as a thought. And
right.
so you see both their thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Great job.
I apparently have a one-track mind.
That was basically what I was going to say, except for
Yeah.
since there are children in the house, I was going to use
Yes.
something else. But
Hmm.
no, that's it. And I think when we found that the other day, it said that's like being referred to as the God's point of view, because like you
Yes.
can see everything that's happening inside everyone's mind and everyone's in the room, and like people don't even need to be there and you could
Hmm.
tell the reader what's happening, like in a room across town with some other character and how they're feeling. So I do find that to be a really unique idea. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know if I could. I would like to try it, but I haven't seen anyone say that they like to read omniscient. So even in this tiny survey that we did, I didn't get anyone that said, "Oh yeah, I'd like to read Omniscient." But I do like, I mean, I haven't written it again, but I do like Omniscient, the idea of it, because I don't feel overwhelmed by too many characters because I
Yeah.
feel like it would be like just like watching a movie with a large cast. I want to know what everyone's thinking and what everyone's doing. So
Hmm.
I don't have a problem with it because like if you if in the example you're doing that, right? So let's give these guys names. So the sucker, we'll call
Hmm.
him what? Let's give the sucker a name.
Peter.
Okay. Okay. So Peter,
Hmm.
so Peter is sucking Todd. Okay.
Hmm.
So we might, if we're not in omniscient and we're just in first person, like Peter might be really enjoying himself doing this, but I have no idea what Todd's actual thoughts are. I can the like the writer can get it across by the way that he's acting and things that he's saying and like, physical cues, but I don't actually know what he's saying, like what he's really thinking. And I
Yeah.
kind of would think that would be cool to know what both of them are thinking because is Peter like, this is the greatest ever? And meanwhile, Todd's like, I don't know, picturing
Mhm.
Ron or something.
Mhm.
You know what I
'Cause,
mean? So he's really into
Peter is
it.
not good at this. Yeah.
Peter is not good at this. But like I wouldn't know that because the writer, if writing in first person or third person, would have to switch POVs. But in
Yes.
omniscient, we would know. So I don't know. I think omniscient sounds kind of cool. But yeah, based on the survey I did, people were not feeling the omniscient. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that because we don't see omniscient very often, I think it's more common in more like classic literature.
Hmm.
Although there is some stuff now and then that comes up that's omniscient. Of course, I cannot think of a single example. Uh, but because we see it so rarely, I think a lot of people who know the rules of writing would say, "Oh, this is a mess. P point of view
Yeah.
violations all over the flipping
Yeah.
place." Yeah.
Well, you know what though? When I sent you my first manuscript for Cooper, that technically would have been considered omniscient
Yeah.
because I did go into everyone's head. And that's why
Hmm.
you were like, oh, wow. So we have some work to be
We
done
need to
here.
fix a few
We just
things. Yeah.
needed, well, but then you taught me that, like, technically it's written in third person. It's not really omniscient, but you slip into omniscient here. So, like, then we corrected it. But I think that's technically what that book was because I had everyone's thoughts in there without feeling like I needed to jump around, and make a scene break when I'm hopping into
Yeah.
someone's head or whatever. Um, so yeah, I guess I do like Omniscient. I need to look
Yeah.
and see if there's a book that we can find that we might like. Have you read one or no?
So when I was looking at examples of omniscient books a while back, there was a classic one that came up. Is Pride and Prejudice written in omniscient? Because you get both Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy's thoughts in the
At the
same
same
scene?
time? Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know.
If
I don't
only we
know.
had a Google Chrome browser open and a shared screen that we could
I
Google
do
it.
have a Google Chrome browser open and we can share screen and do it, but I don't want to I don't want to bore the
I
crap
can
out
do
of
it on my phone.
everyone. Here, no,
I
no,
can
no, no,
talk
no.
and do
It's fine.
things that
It's fine. Oh, you can talk and do things at the same time.
I
All right,
can. Yeah.
hold on. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you look it up and tell me if that's written in Omniscient because I love Pride and Prejudice. I know we just
Yeah.
watched it not long ago, you and me.
Oh, you know what? I am
Did we?
remembering the wrong thing because it said third person limited,
Uh-huh.
which is not omniscient.
No,
While the
it's not.
narrator is omniscient and can offer insights into other characters and events, the narrative leans heavily on Elizabeth's perspective. So it
Ah,
does vary outside of her perspective. So
yeah.
then I guess the debate is it omniscient or is it third
Third
person
person
limited that
close.
broke the
Yeah.
rules a few times?
Interesting. I don't know because see, I love Darcy. I would have really liked to see what Darcy was thinking in a couple scenes.
Hmm.
Like, was he really so charmed immediately or was he actually like annoyed when he first met her? I mean, Darcy's
Yeah.
perfect, so don't get me started. He's fine just the way he is. But I'm still curious. I don't remember how much the book differed from the movie because it's been so long. So now I just
And
picture the movie. Like
I
I
know
just
this is
picture
the
the
movie and not the book, but
Yeah.
if we could go into people's heads, I would really like to know what that housekeeper was thinking when she looked at the pig's balls in the,
Remember when we
yeah.
saw that? Like, why was that? I think it's the mom. I think it's the mother. I
Oh,
think
it
it's the
is. Yes,
mother.
sorry, it
Yeah, the
is. Yes.
mother does it because well, because whenever for readers listeners at home, we're not like, near each other, but when we watch TV or movies together, we watch them at the same time and then we're in chat. And I was like, why would they add that scene in? Why did the mom turn around and look like so like weird
Enamored. Yes.
like yes, enamored is the perfect. I swear, does she even like lick her lips? I don't even know if she does. I feel like it's close to a lip lick. Like there's something off about the
Hmm.
way she looked at that pig's cojones. That for
Yes.
sure. It was very weird. Okay, so no, that is not one. But anyway, so that is omniscient. So I would try omniscient. I don't know. We
Yeah.
need to look and see if we could find a book that's like that. Um, and then the next one we could do is first person. So first
Yeah.
person, I really think first person is my preferred way to write at this point.
Hmm. Yeah, so when I was younger, I really disliked first person
Hmm.
as a reader, because I found I got very bored with it. But I think that
Hmm.
just means I was choosing boring books. Because
Maybe.
if it's a
Yeah.
good book,
Yeah.
you're captivated and you're carried along through the pages. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because now I love first person, but back then I didn't.
Yeah, and I only read first person from your book. Gay Love
Hmm.
was the first one that I read that was first person, which
Hmm.
I thought was pretty interesting because I had thought to myself that I wouldn't like to be the character and I wouldn't like to like go through life as, reading the story
Yeah.
as the character. But I find it so much more immersive. That's hard for me because I like third person too. But I
Hmm.
think first person for Bow Chicka Bow Wow scenes, I definitely
Hmm.
like better
Hmm.
than third. What do you think?
Oh, definitely. Because first person lets you really get into like the sensations, the heat of the moment, the rush of emotion, the
Yeah,
like every flaring nerve ending, that sort of
yeah.
thing.
Well, remember, we were Cookies, Candles, and Cute Butts was third person. And then
Ah,
your
and then at
your
the
your
last minute.
bestie said we're 80% done. And I was like, I need you to trust me. Can you trust me? Because I think this would be better as first person. And you
Hmm.
did. I don't know why
Yeah.
you did, but you did. Well,
Well, my
it
bestie
worked.
knows what's best.
Well, it worked out,
Hmm.
but it was mostly because there was so much sex in there, and I felt like it would just be easier to get those scenes across than in third person. I just felt too separated from them, I think, when I was writing them.
Hmm.
So I don't know. There was that, and then third person. So the Cooper series is in third person, but what I struggle with the most is going back and forth between the two because we're writing the Christmas story at night. That's in first
Yes.
person. And then You Can Call Me Cooper is in third. So I
Yes.
struggle with that a little bit going back and forth. You have, oh no, you're working on Gay Love, right? The last
Yeah,
one.
Gay Love
Yeah.
number 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
say it's going to be the final one, but I've said that every single time. But I think this is
Mm,
the actual final one. We'll see if I do
hmm.
the thing in the epilogue or not. Because if I don't, then that leads to a fifth book. Don't think about that. Don't. Okay. Yes. So that book is in first person. So I'm
Yeah.
bouncing between first and first between our projects.
Oh, well, so you're in first and first. So you're not
Yeah.
really too strained there because it's
No.
first and first. Yeah. But do you like to read third or you like to
I
read
think it
first?
depends on the genre, and even then, there's some wiggle room. So, romance and erotica, I really do prefer first person, with of course lots of exceptions of really fantastic third person. But because you get that sort of immediacy with the physical sensations and with the emotions, and then with larger stories. And by that,
Mm-hmm.
I mean we've got a sprawling cast, multiple
Mm-hmm.
locations, so like a
Mm-hmm.
thriller or sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
I do prefer third person, but I can think of some really good first person examples that
Yeah.
rank up there on my top three list that are first person. So there's always, if it's done well and it's meant to be
Yeah.
told that way, that's what works.
Yeah, I mean, I was considering writing Cooper over in first person, but it's so much work. And there's so many characters that I feel like we would lose a lot from because it's such a big cast. And I feel
Hmm.
like the one thing that third person lets you do is like you can shift POVs and it doesn't feel so jarring as it does
Yes.
when you're in first person. So like if I was to switch a big cast, like for You Can Call Me Cooper to being first person narratives, I think it would be way too jarring to like pop in and out of
Oh,
all these
because you
people's heads.
jump between so many. Yeah.
Probably six heads. I think you're talking about like
Yeah.
six people. And
So
then
you
that
either
feels
like
like a lot.
potentially confuse readers
Cut them
or
out.
you
Yeah.
cut some of them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like my characters are generally all not assholes. So,
Hmm.
you know, sometimes people might say like they're all so nice. I don't know what's happening. And I could see that happening to somebody, I guess. I don't know. I can't see that happening. Have you ever confused POVs, you think? In like when you're reading a book? I feel like I think writers
Oh,
do a pretty good job of it.
when
I don't
reading, I
know.
sometimes do, but what's interesting is because we might be talking about how you visualize stuff in your head
Oh yeah, we're
in
gonna talk
this
about that in a
episode,
minute. Yeah, yeah,
but I
yeah.
find when authors describe characters to me, it's
Mm-hmm.
like in one ear, out the other
Mm-hmm.
sort of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
so when they're later described as, oh, the brown-headed guy, I'm like, don't know who that is.
I have no idea who
did
he
not
is.
retain that information.
I
So I
don't
can
know him.
visualize it,
Yeah.
but I don't
Yeah.
retain that information. So I do sometimes have a little bit of difficulty when there's multiple first person POVs to help keep the details straight. But
Yeah.
that's strictly a me thing, and I write
Yeah.
multiple first person POVs where I flip like the gay love series.
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
I don't, I'm trying to remember. Oh, you know which book I wrote that was totally one person was Frode. Frode is only
Oh
in
yes,
Frode's POV.
that's true.
I was just trying to remember if I had a Caleb POVs, but I don't have Caleb POVs,
No.
only Frode. Interesting. Huh. So I guess I
Hmm.
did write one that way. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say, I don't think I've written one that way. Well, actually, yes, I have written one that way. But that's it's also interesting though when you get done writing a book that's first person because you feel like you've spent so much time with this character. So that it's
Hmm.
like, I don't know, I think we were talking about that the other day, that Frode, because he's so like high strung that when I write him, I'm like, dear God, like it's just
Hmm.
crazy trying to be in that kind of character's head. But so third person allows you to have more separation than that.
True, but I think that Frode would lose a lot if it was third
Oh
person.
yeah, no, you couldn't.
Yeah.
Well, especially because you don't know what's going on in his head, because so much of
Yeah.
that story is just the hilarity
I
that's
think
happening in his head.
even a lot of times Frode doesn't know what's going on in his head.
No, Frode doesn't. And Caleb knows what's going on in Frode's head better than Frode
Hmm.
knows what's going on in his head. But yeah, it's very interesting. So they all have like their strengths and weaknesses, but
Yeah.
I did find that some people said that so there is an instance that I think I would not like to be in first person, and that would be a character who is getting ready to die. I don't think I
Oh, yeah,
want to
no,
be in
thank
first
you.
person for that. But there were some people who were like, they don't want to read sex scenes in first person because it makes them
Mm,
uncomfortable,
hmm.
which is interesting, and I can
Yeah.
understand that. Yeah, I can
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
understand that. Um, but then if I'm reading it in third person, then I feel like I'm watching it. So
A little bit of a
that,
voyeuristic kink
like,
going on.
right? But that's what I think it feels like. Because the other way, like I'm participating, but in third person, I'm just watching.
Hmm.
So I don't know which way for those scenes I prefer. What do you think?
Uh, hmm. I think I prefer first person, but I've read and also written in third person for those kind of scenes and really
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's sort of like how like when your plot goes in a different direction than
Hmm.
expected, and some people are like, "Oh, well, just write it how you want it to be," and you're
Yeah,
like, "I
right.
can't. I
No.
can't. This is the way the story goes." I
Hmm.
find POV is the same way. Like,
Hmm.
I can't change this to a different POV because this is how it's meant to be. And I
Yeah,
think that's what we were having with our Christmas book. We started writing it in third person, but we both knew something wasn't right. Something wasn't
yeah,
connecting. It's because it
yeah.
was a first person story.
Yeah, I felt like the emotion wasn't coming off and the emotion was just
Hmm.
way easier. And I think if you miss out on those internal thoughts, and if you're doing third person, you don't want so much of the internal thoughts. Like
Yes.
you want some, but you don't want so much. And it was just like I feel like you lose a lot of emotional connection that way. And that's just me, the way that I write. That's not
Mhm.
somebody else might write it perfectly fine and be able to encapsulate all the emotion the character's feeling. For me, I just feel like I lose a little bit of it that way.
Yeah.
Especially I'm aware of it just going back and forth, like I said, between the two books that I'm writing right now. I feel like they're both emotional, but I would say that the Cooper series is more, I don't know, more hilarious. It's like just
Hmm.
outwardly funny because it's more like true This one is rom-com too, but these guys are like they have a lot of feelings in the
They
Christmas
do.
book that we're writing.
They do. Hmm.
So I don't know, and not that the other characters don't. I don't know. It's also confusing.
Hmm.
I just want to write it. But do you find? I'm trying to think of all of your books. Do all of your books have multiple POVs or have you written one? Because Corbin's book and Andrew's book, you have dual POVs in those? I'm trying to
No
remember. They're
single
just
POVs in
singles,
those.
right? Single
Yeah.
all the way, right? But
Yeah.
then Gay Love alternates between the two.
Yes. The whole series
Do
does.
you
Yeah.
do more than two ever in first person?
I don't think I ever have. I feel like
So do
I
say my
would
best
run the
friend's
risk of
dad,
making
you
that
never get
confusing.
what's his face as the friend's POV,
No,
right?
it's all
No,
from,
it's the
is it,
dad and the guy.
is it
Yeah.
even the dad's POV or is it, you've read it more recently than me. Um,
Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just Jay's.
mhm.
Yeah, no, I don't think you do the dads. I think it's just Jay's POV.
Yeah.
Is that his name? I think that's his
Yes, it
name.
is. It is.
It
It is. I
is, right?
reuse names so often that like
Yeah.
half my characters are named Jay.
Well, you must really like that name.
I have no idea why. Yeah. And I reuse, I don't think I ever said this on the podcast, but I said it to you once. I unintentionally reused settings once because the
Hmm.
where Seduced by My Best Friend Dad takes place, which is very erotic, like
Hmm.
slightly
Hmm.
taboo romance. I
Hmm.
realized way after the fact is the exact same place where Defeating Demons and Breaking Up with My Boyfriend
The
or
same
Watch
woods.
Romance takes place. Same exact location.
Hmm.
Exactly the same. Same description of everything, except for like the horror element in uh Defeating Demons. Yeah. And then the
But I think
horror-ish
that's cool
element
though.
in Seduced.
The Horus. But I think that's really cool though. I don't think that that's like reusing. It's
Yeah.
just the way you pictured the.
It
So
just
listen, one corner of the forest, somebody got banged, and the other one, there were some nuns that
yeah.
came back to
Yeah.
life.
And they both involve camping, so it's a camping spot.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they both do involve camping. Yeah. So it's a popular camping spot. Yeah.
Hmm.
Actually, I would like to know the friend's POV in that story. You were supposed to give me book two of that. I thought we talked about that you might do a side story for
Yeah,
that. Nah.
I was going to at one point.
Nah.
It's on my like eventual list of like 40 to 50 projects I've got in the
That's
back
true.
of my
Yes, we
head.
do
Yeah.
have, well, we have that, but it's not just on your head.
There's
We
the
have a
official
microsite
list.
document with all of it on there.
Yes.
I think that one's on there. I can't remember if we have it on there. I feel like it is. Because
Yeah.
that, I basically told you to shake your head out that day that we made
Yes.
that list. So I was like, shake your head out on the table and give me everything that's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay, so. Sorry, somebody just sent me an Instagram message that because my computer things are not silenced pop up, and they just read the end of the pirate book, and we're like, "Oh
Ah,
my God!" So yes, the pirate book does end on a cliffhanger.
yes.
For anyone who doesn't know, which is why it says book one on
Mm-hmm.
it, which alludes to the fact that there are multiple books in the series. I kind of didn't think people need to know that a book, because it's like the central plot is resolved. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because
So,
it's a
and
relationship arc. Yeah.
yeah, the relationship part is, hi, Wizard's visiting us for a little bit. Hi, Wizard. But the central plot is resolved. So it
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel like people needed a warning, that there was a cliffhanger, but there is a little cliffhanger there.
Yeah,
It's enough to
that
keep you
leads you right
interested
into
in the
book two.
next book. Leads you right into the book too. See, now that book we were talking about, that the next one I might do something really bold with and write it from the villain's perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
But
maybe the
who,
villain falls in love with someone.
what? I don't know. I'm not thinking about a romance for him. I'm just thinking about making him super bad.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens. I don't really know. We'll figure it
Maybe
out.
he meets another super bad, I was going to say vampire, but pirate.
Mm.
Unless you do a vampire pirate mashup.
No, because I already have that other vampire story coming out next year, and then I'm
Ah,
gonna
yes.
start crossing them together, whatever. Okay, all right. So anyway, back to
Hmm.
this. Back to what we were talking about, which is the first, third, whatever's
Yeah.
point of views. Yes. Somebody had suggested that we look into where people fall on the Fantasia scale, aphantasia
Hmm.
scale, which I don't remember if you told me you had heard of it before. I had not heard of it before.
I loosely heard of it. I didn't really know, I didn't know the terms, but I was
Yeah.
familiar with the basic concept that this is built around.
Yeah, see, and I wasn't.
Hmm.
So we looked it up, and mind you, before we do this, neither of us know really what we're talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
we just did a Google search, and here we
And
are.
we also, there's a bit of a quiz here. We have not gone through this yet. It might be the most boringest segment
It
of
might
all
be really
boring
boring,
segments.
but we wanted to do a quiz to see like this is the vividness of visual imagery because we did a one question test that said that we both had, was it hyperphantasia?
Hyperphantasia.
We
Yeah.
both had hyperphantasia, but only 2% of the population supposedly has hyperphantasia. And based off of the one question quiz that we took, we have come to the conclusion that we are both have hyperphantasia. So we figured we would try and figure out if we actually do or don't.
Yes.
But the reason this is interesting is because the question that the person posed was like trying to figure out which POV readers prefer based on where they fall on the scale. Because
Mhm.
one side of the scale you can picture images super vividly, like, and then the other side of the scale you can't really conjure up images in your mind. You just don't see anything. I don't understand how these things are possible to measure. Like,
Yes, yes.
so that's just me being dumb because I don't understand how, like, because how do I know? Like, if someone's saying they're picturing nothing, like, are their brain waves measured so that we know
Hmm.
they're like the person? So, like, if we say, hey, the sky was blue and there was a sunny day on the beach, like, the person can't picture a beach at all.
Yeah. And then
Is that
like
what
let's
that
say you
means?
and I, yeah, and like let's say you and I both say, "Oh, I can picture it perfectly." But
Hmm.
we have no way of comparing how
Hmm.
we're visualizing it. So like you might have a much more realistic
Hmm.
version than I do, and I think
Yeah.
mine is perfectly realistic, but it doesn't hold a
Yeah.
candle to yours.
Yeah.
Well, we don't
So
know.
like if I picture the beach, right? If you said like picture the beach, then like I immediately can feel the sand on my feet. It's
Hmm.
warm. I'm standing on the sand. I see the water. The water is going in and out, and I can hear the waves crashing and smell the sea in my nose.
So this is also related to which beaches we have access to.
That's
So I'm
true.
picturing cold sand, millions of fish flies all over the place. Half of them are dead, washing up on shore. The water
Gross.
is absolutely diarrhea brown.
Ew.
And it is scorching, scorching hot outside. That's
Okay,
my
but
memory of the beach and what I'm picturing because that is Grand Beach at a certain weekend when the fish flies are out.
okay, but see, so those are two, we both produce two what I would
Hmm.
consider the most vivid images possible, right? Because nothing is left out in my head the way that I
Yeah.
picture it, right? I can feel it, I can smell it, I can see it, I can taste the salt in the air. So, like, that's what happens when someone says the word beach to me. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So,
Yeah.
anyway, okay, so for this, we're going to do how vivid is your mind's eye? I have no idea how accurate this is.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
see.
it
It's on
explores
the
the
internet, so it's 100% true and
Well,
accurate.
they can't put anything on the internet that isn't
No,
true, Craig. God,
absolutely not.
obviously not. So, but this is an aphantasia.com. So it explores the vividness of your visual imagination, was created in 1973, which both of us were not born at that time,
No.
by British psychologist David Marks. Proven to be an accurate test of the vividness of which you can see people, objects, or settings in your mind's eye. Okay, so for each scenario, try to form a mental picture of the people, objects, or setting. Rate how vivid the image is using the 5-point scale. Okay. Rate vividness as 1. Only use 5 for images that are as lively and vivid as real seeing. That's what we both just did. Those were fives,
Yeah,
no?
I
Okay.
would say so. Yeah.
Yeah. So number 1 is no image at all. I only know that I am thinking of the object. Number 2 is a dim and vague image. Number 3 is moderately realistic and vivid. Number 4 is realistic and reasonably vivid. And number 5 is perfectly realistic, as vivid as real seeing. I really think I'm on number 5 for almost everything. I really feel like that's how I picture things.
Me too. Me
But
too.
let's see. Okay. Think of some relative or friend whom you frequently see, but who is not with you at present, and consider carefully the picture that comes before your mind's eye. The exact contours of face, head, shoulders, and body.
I would say a 5.
5. So I'm
Yeah.
picturing my sister.
I'm picturing my mom.
Okay. So 5. So that is no image, dim, moderate. So we're saying we can perfectly clear and lively as real seeing. Yes.
Yeah.
Characteristic poses of the head attitude. Yeah, she just walked in and like kind of rolled her eyes at me. So
Hmm.
like 5.
Yeah,
5?
5 here. Yeah, I don't get my mom thankfully did not roll her eyes at me. But yes, 5.
The precise care send her this Christmas story this time and tell her she only has a week to edit it for us. We might get an eye roll then.
We
No,
might,
we
yes.
probably we wouldn't. She loved the last one. I'm sure
She
she'd
did.
be happy. Yeah. Okay. The precise carriage, length of step in walking. Yeah, I could see her
Yeah,
walking.
5.
Yeah, 5.
5.
The
Hmm.
different colors worn in some familiar clothes. Yeah, she's wearing like a flannel shirt and some short shorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can picture some things
Orange,
that she
black,
wears
yellow,
frequently. Yeah.
Orange, black, yellow on the shirt. It's wrinkled. It's cuffed at the sleeves. She has
Yeah.
short
My
shorts
mom's
on.
got this gray sweater she loves. It has a big hole in the elbow. Like I can
That's
picture
what
it,
she's
even
wearing,
how
right?
tightly the weave is. Yeah.
Yeah. The different colors worn in some familiar clothes. Same, five. We just went over that. Okay, so all fives for that, right?
Yeah.
Visualize a rising sun. Consider carefully the picture that comes before your mind's eye. Okay, got
Hmm.
it. The
So
sun rising.
this is
Oh,
interesting,
mm-hmm.
sorry, because
Yeah.
I've never witnessed a sunrise. I don't think I've ever
Really?
witnessed one. Yeah.
Aw, man, I see them all the time at the beach. Okay, so this is
But
interesting. Yeah.
even that, like I can visualize it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Five? Mine's a five.
Yeah, I would say mine's a five. It'd probably be better image if I'd actually seen one before.
You'd actually seen one. Yeah. Well, when you eventually come here one day, like for my funeral, probably is
Mhm.
the next is when you'll come. Make
Yeah.
sure you stop by the beach
Okay.
to see the
Will
sunrise.
do.
The sky clears and surrounds the sun with blueness. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Clouds. A storm blows up with flashes of lightning. Oh, wait. So we're supposed to
Oh yeah.
picture all of these things. Sorry, that was one. Sorry.
Oh, so it's
I
not
see. I was like,
good.
I'm not picturing clouds and thunder.
This is quite the
Yeah,
sunrise.
I was
Yeah,
like,
no,
wow, okay. Yeah.
yeah, this
Tr
thunderstorm, I can picture that.
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Sky clears and surrounds the sun with blueness. Yes, absolutely. I can see that. Clouds. A storm blows up with flashes of lightning.
Yeah.
Yep. A rainbow appears. Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like I can imagine it right there out my window. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Think of the front of a shop of which you often go to. Consider the picture that comes before your mind's eye.
Hmm.
Okay. Got it. The overall appearance of the shop from the opposite side of the road.
From the opposite side of the, oh, well, there's a giant parking lot, but okay, sure.
Well, so like I'm supposed to be standing on the other side of the parking lot? Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
I see like the little parking stoppers
I
in
think
front,
what I
the red
struggle with a
balls.
little bit, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if this is the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have to, shouldn't struggle with this, or if it is different and I'm approaching this wrong, but how is imagining something different than a memory? Like right when we were doing the rainbow one, I've never seen
Yeah.
a rainbow out this window right here, but I can imagine it right there. But if I'm thinking of the grocery store I always go to, well, that's more of a memory than conjuring it
Yeah.
up. But
Interesting.
maybe it's the
Yeah.
same thing. Like maybe people with aphantasia
Aphantasia.
can't
Yeah.
conjure up an image from memory too. I mean, that's possible.
Maybe, but yeah, no, what you bring up a good point. Huh. I don't really know.
Anyway,
But
I can picture the grocery store from across the parking
I
lot. I can
can
picture
too.
all four
Yeah.
sides of it.
A window display including color, shapes, and details of individual items for sale. Yes,
Well, I've switched
100%.
stores in my head now because Safeway doesn't really have a window display. But there's
Yeah.
a hardware store I drive past now and
Mhm.
then that has a window display, and I can picture it very clearly.
Okay. You're near the entrance, the color, shape, and details of the door. Yes. I
Yes,
can smell it when it
absolutely.
opens, actually. Like I can smell the smell,
You
that
go to a
rubber.
stinky store. Okay.
I find that this store just has a smell. Like it's not a
Mhm.
bad, but I think that all places have a smell. Don't you think so?
Oh,
Or
I'm
not
sure.
really? I feel like all places have
I've
like
been
their
told
own.
I don't have the greatest sense of smell, and I
Oh
believe I
no?
don't have the greatest sense of smell, but which is
Yes.
weird since I'm sensitive to smells and have
That is
they can
weird.
trigger headaches. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is
yeah,
weird. Okay, I feel like I don't know, like I mean we could keep going. Enter the shop and go to the counter. The counter assistant serves you. Money changes hands. I can feel the
changes
money in my
money.
hand. I could feel the money in my hand, the way the paper feels when you're passing
Sure.
it over. No,
Just
not for
when's the
you.
last? No, oh, I can, but when's the last time I bought something with money?
It would, for me, it would have been at a bookish event, like where I was charging somebody for a book and they would have passed me
Yes,
cash.
same
So
here. Yeah.
that's what I was just thinking of, like just changing the money there. So yeah, and I can see the cashier there. Gosh, we have one cashier who's so miserable too. My gosh. The one that I tell you about like every Sunday.
Hmm.
That like complains. I understand people have difficult jobs, okay? But like you can't complain to the customers that are there at 7, that are shopping in the morning about how much you hate your job and your boss and how everything is miserable. That's the worst.
Yeah,
Um,
I
and
had a cash register attendant like that. I
yeah.
go to self checkout now.
Yeah, well, it sets your whole day off wrong. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Like, I do understand that people need to talk. I just, and I can empathize with not liking your job and feeling, discouraged about where you work.
Yeah,
And
we've all been there.
I
Yeah.
absolutely get it, but it's like, every single Sunday that we go to the store, it's the same cashier, and there's only ever one cashier there at a time. So it's
Hmm.
like then it's the same person, and it's like complaining about the store hours and complaining about management, and nobody cares, and the breaks, and I'm like, by the time I leave, like I'm exhausted. Like she's just like totally dumped all over us. So it's crazy. All right, back to the test. Finally, think
Yes.
of a country scene which involves a trees. Wow. Which involves trees, mountains, and a lake. Consider the
Okay.
picture that comes before your mind's eye. Okay, so this is the whole picture.
Yeah, I've got it too. And this is one where I don't know if this is memory or if it's like creation of the mind. I might be thinking of the Banff Jasper area in Alberta, or it might be
Hmm.
creation of my head. I'm not sure.
Hmm. The contours of the landscape. Yes.
Yes.
5. Color
Same.
and
Ditto.
shape of the lake. 5.
Yep. Very blue, unlike the beach I go to.
Color and shape of the trees. Yeah, I see like
Yes.
big ass pine trees and the fluffy branches
Hmm.
coming off of them. Yeah. Perfectly clear and lively as real seeing. A strong wind blows on the trees on the lake, causing reflections in the water. Yep. 5.
Yes, I can see that too.
Okay, so it wants to know all of our personal information,
Yes.
um, which we don't really want to do that. So
Including social insurance number,
so I
or
guess
social security
so
number,
the
banking
but
info.
the bottom line is like, oh, this is optional. So here we can go
Hmm.
through. We didn't click all of them because we're dumb. So hold on.
We already know we're freaks of nature.
Yeah, but well, I guess we are, but I'm just curious, is it really that uncommon that only 2% of people see stuff the way that we see them?
I don't know. Like I said, it's on the internet.
I'm just
Means it's
curious. You know what
true.
I mean? But maybe that's, I don't know. 'Cause subscribed. Oh, I thought this said subscribe to me
I
newsletter.
read
I
the
was like,
same thing.
yeah. I was like, subscribe to me newsletter. All right, well, we're pirates now.
You should have that on your website.
A
If people go
subscribe
there
to
for
me
incident
newsletter.
response,
Okay, we have to select all the squares of motorcycles so that we can get our results.
there we go.
Next. What the hell? I failed? Okay.
Yeah, that's a motorcycle driver in those top two. I don't know if that counts.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But this is a piece of the motorcycle.
Yeah, that's what I struggle with these. Sometimes it's like there's like a dot in this square that is
Yeah,
part of the thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, at least we passed. We are hyper fantastic. I don't know what it
Yes,
means, but I think it sounds really cool.
I like being hyper fantastic.
Extraordinary discovery. You have hyperphantasia, a remarkable ability to create extremely vivid and detailed mental imagery. So my parents always told me, well, and my teachers told me that I had photographic memory. So do those two things go hand in hand, I wonder?
Oh, I would imagine. Well, I guess that's that question of is a realistic memory the same as conjuring up unique
Yeah.
images?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they told me that
Oh,
when I was really little. And I remember
what does
like
this mean?
back then my parents were like so crazy because like they
Hmm.
acted like it was like some great find or something. Like you don't tell people how well you can see things. Like I thought I was like a kid from some crazy movie or something. Like I had superpowers. Obviously, then
Hmm.
with 5 kids, they didn't really talk about it anymore after a certain amount of time. But I remember her being like, "Oh no, you have photographic memory. Like you shouldn't be talking about." And I'm like, "What the hell?" And now I'm looking back, I'm like, why did she even say that?
Yeah.
Who cares? Like lots of people have photographic memories. Maybe just because the internet wasn't so like readily available then.
Yeah.
So maybe
Yes.
like she was just nervous, thought there was something wrong with me or something. Okay, so
So in the what does this mean? It does say can influence memory recall. So it sounds like
mm,
memory and image creation are
one of the same, the same.
related or the
Yeah.
same or related. So
Well,
yeah,
it's somehow
yeah,
related.
like I have a freakish memory sometimes
Hmm.
because
Me
like
too.
I think I was
Yeah.
mentioning I met someone in my like a friend of a friend. I met him in our early 20s and I remembered it took me a while, but I remembered meeting him when I was 5. was
Mm-hmm.
one day in daycare because that wasn't his normal daycare. So he was there one day with his twin brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember meeting them. I remember
Mm-hmm.
the shirts that they were wearing, and I remember one of them getting mad at the other.
Yeah,
Um, ask me what I had for lunch yesterday. No clue.
no
Ask me about
idea.
someone I met 25 years ago. You got it.
Yeah. So when I was in first grade and we moved from New York to Florida, I can remember my last day of school and they gave me a Dennis the Menace puzzle. And I
Yep.
can remember, I can feel the box in my hands and I can see the picture on the box. And my friend Kevin, he was there and he had his little short haircut and he's wearing a white t-shirt and he has pants on. And I see my teacher, Mrs. Williams, and has one hand on the box, and then my other friend, uh, I can't, it's a K name, Kara. Kara's over there, and Kara's standing by the cupcakes. So why
Mm-hmm.
do I remember that? Yeah. And so my friend was like, "You'll always remember me because I'm Dennis." And my teacher is like, "And he's a menace." So like it's just funny that I can remember that. But yeah, like you
Yeah,
said, what did I have for lunch yesterday? I don't even know. I'll do you one better. Oh no, I had oats this morning for breakfast. And those oats were pretty good, by the way. Those oats we
they
made, delicious.
were.
Okay, so anyway, Fantasia is the ability to picture things in your mind. The word comes from ancient times when thinkers like Aristotle talked about how our minds can create mental pictures. Hyperphantasia refers to a highly visual imagination. People with hyperphantasia can see things in their mind in great detail, like watching a high definition movie. Exactly like the way when I write books. That's how it is for
Mm-hmm.
me. Hyperphantastics can imagine scenes, colors, and feelings so clearly it's almost like they're real. That's why I sound crazy when I talk about my books. And it sounds like the people exactly like they exist because in my head they exist, which sounds woohoo. Your
Yes.
very vivid visual imagination can significantly influence your creative potential in arts, design, and innovation, memory, recall, and learning processes, problem-solving approaches, especially in visual and spatial tasks, emotional experiences, and empathy. Well, I think that we both are pretty empathetic people.
I think
Many
so.
hyper fantastics report rich, immersive inner worlds and exceptional abilities in fields requiring strong visualizations. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
Yep. So, fascinated by your hyper fantastic abilities, consider these questions. Can you create and manipulate complex scenes in your mind with ease? Yes, that's why we're
Yes.
writers. How
Yes.
does your vivid imagery affect your emotional responses to thoughts or memories? It sucks sometimes. That's what
Lots
happens.
of cringing when I
Lots.
think of
Yes,
memories.
yes, yes. It sucks real bad and I
Yes.
hate it. How do you use your hyperphantasia in your work or hobbies? Well, using it for writing or making people
Yeah.
feel guilty about something that they did to me at some point in my life. That also
Yes.
works.
Yes.
So anyway, there we are. Your hyperphantastic experience places you at one end of the visual imagination spectrum. Each point represents a unique way of experiencing the world. Interesting, no?
Yeah.
Wow. There we go, kid. So I guess
And I
we're
think
extra
on the
special. Yeah.
yeah, I think on the first page of this thing, which I found interesting, or maybe when we were looking at our search results earlier, it said that people who are aphantastic, so the people who can't conjure up images at all, it
Hmm.
does not affect their creativity. So we could have writers who cannot visualize their characters, but that doesn't stop them from writing incredibly good books.
Wow. Yeah, aphantasia is the inability to voluntarily visualize mental images. People with aphantasia cannot see images in their mind's eye, unlike the majority of people who can conjure up visual memories or imagine scenes. It's not considered a medical condition, disorder, or disability, but rather a difference in how the mind works. Interesting. Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. That is really cool. But see, like for me, I know like when you brought up the example of how the writer describes the person, that's why I like to have the pictures in my books so that way people can tell like
Oh
they have a
yeah.
good mental image of what the character looks like. Because I could describe a guy with, brown hair and a strong jawline and tan skin and his cheekbones, this and that. And we still
Hmm.
could come up with two totally different images. But if I show you a picture, then you know exactly what he looks like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that goes back to like when you're reading a book, if the character is not described,
Mhm.
then you see the description later on, you're like, oh no, I've already imagined he looks like something else. I have a
Yes.
friend that does that. She just told me about that the other day. She said, see, now she doesn't like pictures in books because she wants to imagine the characters the way that she wants to imagine them. So
Hmm.
she said it's always jarring to her when authors do put out like character art because the characters end up not looking anything like the way that she pictured them, or when they do mood
Okay.
boards.
Yep.
So which is interesting. I'm curious what end of the Fantasia scale she falls on, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Interesting. I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, thank you, person who commented that on my post. This was
Yeah. Very
We found out that
interesting
we are
diversion.
exceptional, I guess.
We
I
are?
don't know. Yeah, we're exceptional, which we already did know that. Okay,
Yeah.
now, you are writing
Hmm.
the last book in the
Gay
gay.
love series. Yeah.
So
That
how does that feel for you? Because then when did you start writing gay love? How long ago was that?
so it was published in 2018. I started writing in 28 that book in 2018. So we're coming up on what, 8 years now? And the
Yeah.
whole thing, books one to four,
Hmm.
take place in the span of like a year and a half. And so it's
Hmm.
kind of odd to think of this book that I wrote like 3 years. I think the last one was 5 years, no, 3 years ago. I don't know. It was several
No, it can't
ago.
be 3 years ago because I've known you 3 years now, silly.
But did I write? I think I published Gay Love and Other Big Disasters before we met, right?
Before we met. Yeah,
Yeah.
before we met.
So it's been at least that long. And book four that I'm writing now takes place, I think, like 2 or 3 months after that one. And so it's
Yeah.
kind of jarring to be like, this happened 3 months ago.
Yeah.
No, in my
No,
life, it
this
happened
happened.
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, I'm looking to see when that book released. Hold on. Gay Love and Other Big Disasters.
I should know these things, but I
No,
don't.
it's okay. It's okay. I should know them as your bestie. I should know them more than you should because I'm supposed to know these things also as your assistant. March 8th, 2022.
Oh, so 3 years, three and a
Wait,
bit.
when did I meet you? Was that
I
year?
think
Was
at the
2023?
end of 2023. Yes.
Wait, this Christmas just passed. That was our second Christmas.
Yeah,
That was
so that was
2024.
24.
So 2023, we published Cooper in May. So
No, we published Cooper in May
you
2024.
signed Cooper in
Yes.
July of 2022.
Mm,
You signed Cooper in
no.
July 2023. You
Yes,
signed Cooper in July
2023.
2023. We published Cooper in 2024. Okay. So, but we became best friends in like October
Yes,
of 2023.
2023.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we
Yes.
had a friend anniversary, whatever the hell that was. And I don't
Mhm.
remember. But I'll look it up because I remembered we count it from I don't know, I counted from when we did the podcast. How about that? I don't know.
Yeah, that
Well,
works.
I think we started counting it when we started DMing, but technically at that point, that's technically when we became loose friends. Wasn't really
Hmm.
friends. I was
Hmm.
asking you questions about stuff. So anyway, so yeah, that must feel really weird to go back to a
Yeah.
story that was so long ago, but you're writing it as if like basically no time has passed. You
Hmm.
know? That must feel really weird. I don't
Yeah,
know.
because I've also grown and changed so much as a writer and as
Yeah.
a person. And then those two guys are the same as they
Yeah.
were 3 years ago. And also, I don't remember everything in that book. And
Yeah.
like, there were certain characters that I had to go back to book one to look up their names because I didn't remember Benjamin's brothers' names.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel, now that I know, because I looked it up.
Hmm. I'm really hoping for listeners at home, if there was any dinging, it's because somebody is liking every one of my Instagram stories and my alerts
Oh,
are not off on my
I
phone.
will put my Instagram down and stop liking your stuff.
It is not you. But I can't make it stop. So I'm hoping that the dinging, can you hear the dinging?
I
You
did not
can't,
hear
right?
anything. No,
So
every
it's
once in a while,
it's
not on the
still
call
going.
now, but every
Yeah.
once in a while, on a normal day, sometimes I
Mhm.
can hear it, but not usually.
It's still going. So
Hmm.
hopefully it stops soon. It's still going. I just don't know if it picks up on, I don't know what it records, so I don't know if it
Yeah.
can hear that. But for listeners at home, I'm leaving this in, and I apologize if there was
Yeah.
dinging because Craig just said way too much stuff for me to cut out.
Yeah.
Um, but it is interesting too, though, writing a big series like that, because like you say, you
Hmm.
forget stuff. Because even like I'm doing Cooper 2, which will be the end of the series. Like there's just, I had always planned there to just be two books. And I still like there's stuff that I have to go back and fact check. And you're
Mm,
talking
yes.
about a book that I released last year where you're talking about a series that started all those years ago.
2018. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 years ago. So like you have to go back and make sure that you're not having anything that's like inaccurate as far as characters go,
Hmm.
or changing names or something.
Oh,
Um,
on that note, if
mhm.
anybody at home has read one of my books recently and knows Benjamin's father's name, let me know because I don't know how to look it up without reading the whole book. So I'm naming him Teddy. I hope his name is Teddy or Theodore
My God, I'll
or
look it up.
something along those lines.
I'll look it
But
up
if
when we
someone
end the
knows what
call.
he actually is called, and I think I didn't name him. I think I didn't name him.
Yeah, yeah. He probably just
Yeah,
doesn't even have one. It
yeah.
would have, I feel like it would have been in the first book, Benjamin's
Hmm.
dad's name. If you had it, it would
He
have
had
been in the
a
first book.
Yeah, he had a pretty big role in book one,
Yeah,
and he
that's what
wasn't
I'm
even in
saying.
book two. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's in any book, I'll look when we end the call. I
Mhm.
meant to do this the other day when you brought this up. I forgot. I'm making a note right now.
Oh, oh.
Benjamin, dad name. But it's funny too, because like you said, you reuse names. I didn't
Hmm.
realize how many times I reuse names in all my drafts. Because
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, like Vincent, it's like Vincent's name. I must have really wanted to name a character Vincent because this is like three different things. And the same with Mateo. There's like Mateo was planned to be in two books. So
Hmm.
Mateo is in the pirate novel, and then I had Mateo in Froderick. There's a Mateo, but you
Oh
didn't see
yes.
it. Oh, do you see it?
Oh
Oh yeah,
oh.
yeah, 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 I did. I did. I did.
Okay.
It's in Vincent, and I think Mateo. I think those are the names that are in the story that Frode's mom wrote, which is the
Oh, I'm
story that
picturing a different character. Okay. Yes.
yeah. So I think their names are Vincent and Mateo in the pretend story that Freud's mom wrote, which is actually a story that I am gonna write. But their names are Vincent and Mateo.
Mhm.
So those gotta come out. And then who else? Aaron. There's another guy named Aaron, and I
Mhm.
had that name in like three different drafts. So I guess I just use the same names too.
Yeah.
But I've like you, like I said, I have had to go back and double check people's names and what they're doing. And I'm like, oh, I don't think I talk about this person's parents, or and I'm like, oh no, I did talk about that. Because I think it's so important to keep the experience so immersive because like you and I are writing these books years apart. Well, for me, yeah, years apart, but like someone else could be reading them all in a row.
Yeah. Back to back.
So
Yeah.
where something seems so insignificant to us, like if you did name Benjamin's dad and someone's going through the series and then you call him something else, you could completely confuse a reader because they'd be on
Hmm.
the last book and be like, who is this? Like, did he have another dad? Is it his stepdad? His dad's name was Teddy. Like, how does he have this name? You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
inadvertently just totally screw a reader up. And then meanwhile, you and I are like, huh? Like we had
Yeah.
no idea. Yeah.
Oh, I can fix it, I guess.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we can fix it. Have you ever thought about going back and touching up any of your manuscripts? I actually know the answer to this, but I want to ask you. I
Yeah,
do
the
know the
answer is
answer.
no.
Yeah.
Because there's a case where someone pointed out an error in one of my books where I called somebody by the wrong name. It is
Hmm.
so easy to fix because I'm the publisher. I've got all the files. It takes all of 10 minutes. But nope, can't bring myself to do it.
Well, and then I am like, oh my God, if I see a missing quotation mark, I'm gonna die, Craig. I need you to
Yeah,
fix this for me right now. And then you do.
I do.
So,
Yeah,
but you know what I think sucks though? Is that Ingram Spark charges us anytime we have to fix something.
that's
So
right.
also like that is kind of a pain in the tuchus, like because all books have errors. Like that's just a
Yeah.
matter of fact. Like they all will have something, and like whether they get caught or not, I don't know. It doesn't mean that all books have like a
I'm just
huge
thinking
amount. But
today we were looking at one of my manuscripts, which you, I, and John have all been through,
oh
and
my
we caught
God.
a missing word on page one.
On page one. And like,
Yeah.
John, if you're listening to this, we caught an error on page. So the same person who said, why would Craig need a proofreader when you, I, and he are going through? Because we're line editing one of Craig's stories, all three of us together.
Yeah.
Every Monday night, we've been doing that. We spent like an hour and a half, like going through
Yeah.
one of his new story. Um, and so John was saying, well, we'll send it to the proofreader after we're done. And I'm like, if we need a proofreader, the three of us need new jobs. And guess what, John? I think we need new jobs because Craig was putting this thing in a file and we were scrolling through it. And I was like, I think there's a word missing there. And he's like, what? And it's literally on the first page of
And
the
it's
main.
underlined as
It's
well by the
underlined. Like,
autocorrect. Yes.
how did we miss it? Like, we're going line by line, word by word, but your mind plays tricks on you,
Yeah.
because it's like your mind sees it. And that's why I love like the way that we write together in the Christmas story, because I
Hmm.
do find that we catch a lot of stuff like by A, reading our stuff out loud and then having the other person read it. So I find that to be helpful. But God, with your manuscript, the three of us like are poring over it for like an hour and a half, and we had no idea that that was there. But it's the same with cookies. Like, remember cookies? We had an error in the chapter name. Like
Hmm.
this, was there a word missing or it was spelled wrong? I don't remember which one it was.
I
I can't
think
remember.
there's a word missing, which is on live on air on one of our podcasts, I
We
think.
found it on air. Like, yes,
Yeah.
we found it on air because we were reading some of our favorite chapter titles. And I was
Hmm.
like, there is a typo here. Like, there absolutely is not. And there absolutely 100% was. But anyway, yeah, Ingram Spark will charge us for every
Yes.
instance that we have to update the book. And there's no like grace period after. So it's just
Yeah.
like, you screwed up, pay us the money and we'll fix it. And then like, so if the next day you're like, oh my God, I meant to also change this, then you're screwed. You have to pay for that again. So,
Yeah.
which that is a little difficult because, if you have a book that isn't really selling well or something, or hasn't sold in say years, I mean, we do it because we want our books to be right, but it does hurt a little bit to do
It
it.
does. Yes.
It does,
Hmm.
but obviously, as a publisher, we fix all of them the second that any author
Yeah.
points anything out to
Oh,
us. We
yeah,
fix
yeah.
it
To any
immediately.
of our
Yeah,
authors listening, if you spot a
100%.
critical
Oh,
error, let
yeah.
me know.
Oh,
If I
yeah.
spot a critical error in my own book, just live with it.
Yeah. Yeah, because Callie doesn't roll that way either. So like,
Hmm.
we see an error and we fix it. But it's just crazy the way that that is though, because I feel like it would be nice if you had like you have a grace period like once a year you could make updates to your
Yeah.
book. I don't know. I think that would be nice. Amazon doesn't charge for that though.
Not at all.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, not yet. They don't. I mean, I'm sure
True.
they
Good God.
probably will soon, but yeah, not yet. So anyway, this was fun. And then
Yeah.
I feel like so the problem is, Bestie, is that we have been in Zoom, you and me, for 7 hours and 44
Oh.
minutes.
Hmm.
So we have not been recording the podcast for 7 hours and 44 minutes, but that's what the timer says.
Yeah.
So I have no idea how long we've been recording. So it could be like a 45-minute podcast. It could be a 30-minute podcast.
We started shortly after I fed the cat, so we're at about an hour now. Probably a little over an hour.
Perfect. That's where we want to be. But then we
Yes.
got sidetracked with the aphantasia for a little bit. And
Oh,
also we
yeah.
were looking
Yeah.
at some Kickstarters for some other people.
Yes.
So we
Yeah.
also had that. Yeah. So we were sidetracked just a tiny little bit.
But we
Okay.
might still be about an hour
Yeah.
because I fed the
Look,
cats at 3. We at latest we started at 3:30. It's
yeah.
4:30 now. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. Well, this was fun. I do always love
Yeah.
talking writing. And of course,
Yeah,
we
me
always
too.
welcome any questions from anyone at home that wants to be a writer or is a writer or just enjoys asking questions. You're always free to DM me, Callie. Don't
Mhm.
DM Craig because Craig does not really respond to DMs because Craig is
No.
very busy because he is
Yes.
the CEO of a publishing house. But yeah, but always feel free to reach out and ask us any questions because we do love helping new writers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we are
Also,
open for
DM us if you
submissions.
have answers to our questions, like what Benjamin's father's name is.
Yes, I'm gonna look it up when we're done. I'll look it up. I'm curious if you named him. There's a part of me that thinks you did. There's a tiny, tiny part
I
of
might
me.
have.
I feel like it's like 5%. I'm just trying to remember because I can hear Jordan like saying Benjamin's dad, and then I don't know if he says the name. So that's
Mhm.
where I'm lost. But Jordan wouldn't have called him by his first name. Jordan wouldn't have even thought of
Uh,
him, I don't think, by his
yeah,
first
I
name.
don't know. And see, the problem is I don't even know how to like use the search feature in Word to find it
We can
because
find it. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna find it. Don't
all
worry.
right,
We'll
all
do it
right.
when we're done. We'll do it when we're done. It's fine. Okay, so anyway, that's that. And then next episode, we'll see if we have I don't know if we'll have the professor or if it'll just be you and me or it'll be a cooking recipe or a writer friend.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But definitely keep an eye out on our accounts because we will have some new releases coming soon. I will have a special new release coming out pretty soon, and then Christmas book will be here before you know it, and your
Mm-hmm.
new book will be here before you know it. I don't even know. I can't keep up.
Yeah.
But I have a new Facebook readers group. Callie
I
Kitz's
do. Yes.
MM Romance Readers.
I went
So
back onto Facebook for the first time in like 12 years to go
mhm,
join your group.
you did. That's because you are the bestest bestie who ever lived.
Hmm.
But this bestie, I'm pointing to me, has terrible, I'm just terrible at Facebook. Like I feel like I feel like I missed it there. But anyway, um, thank you. So I think that's it though for
Hmm.
us. Oh, and subscribe to our newsletters. We both also
Yes,
have, you know,
that's true.
amazing newsletters that we send out too. Now,
Hmm.
tell the people where the people can find us.
Or are we doing a final thought? I don't really want
Oh,
to, but
you don't want to do a final thought?
I'll do a final thought. Final thought of the
You
day
want
is
me to do it?
final thought of the day.
I
And
hope
I've
it's
thought of
really
doing
good.
this. I've thought of doing this. I really should do it with the Monday night project that we're working on. Write down a list of your characters because when you go back to write a sequel 5 years later, you're going to thank yourself at that point.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, so when we get off this call, we'll make a list of the characters that are in the story that we're editing, and we're going to look up Benjamin's dad to see if we can find any instances of Benjamin's dad. Okay, we'll
Okay.
figure it out. So now I'll tell the people where they can find us.
You can find us on drawing a blank Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and Twitter, but don't really follow us on Twitter. We're
Oh
kind of
yeah, I
abandoning
know.
that.
Yeah, I know.
And YouTube. I'm doing an old school video camera. I
I
don't know
didn't know what
why.
you were doing. I thought you were like serving up some like mashed potatoes or something.
Nope, I'm doing the scrolly thing for the video camera.
Yes.
Uh, Cali Craig Talk. CaliCraigTal. Okay.
Thanks. That was a good
Yes.
job. You nailed it.
Mhm.
All right. So thanks everyone for listening. We will catch you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm off to use my big aphantasic brain.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye
Bye.
for real.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. Okay. Bye.